Welcome, digital card fighters. This is Kyle Deef, and better known as RideMyAvatar, bringing you my two decks and kind of a little bit of why I picked these two decks for the Classic Kings tournament. And these two decks is what made me get to top 4. I mean, I made some bad plays in the middle of the tournament, like that cost me in the tops. I made some misplays and it was rough. I tilted a bit, and I really hate to say that I actually tilted, and but with that, I've actually had a lot of fun, and it's a lot of good knowledge and practice. But for entering my first major Vision tournament, I'm kind of happy being who I am, a small YouTuber, getting to the top like that, especially with the setup and lineup I have. So I'm going to go over my Kagero list, and then I'll go over my Neonectar list. But the reason why I brought Kagero and Neonectars was they had a special blend that I had a feeling would work well. Kagero could take care of most of the issues that the big three, against the big three, it handled itself really well. And it took on MLB, which I had a high expectancy to see. And then I brought Neonectars because they're such a tanky, resilient deck that sometimes that's just enough to outplay your opponent, to even cause them to deck out, or even just hold the line enough. Because being able to call grade 2s and having the starter be able to put back grade 2s or heal triggers or whatever you need it back into the deck extends the plays immensely. And the reason why I like it so much is it did everything it needed to that I needed the deck to do. I needed it to be able to handle the mid tiers really well, but also be able to hold itself against MLB, Shadows, and Kagero. Like, if Kagero isn't overly retire happy, this deck can hold itself. Neonectars can really do some damage. But let's get into explaining my lists here. So first off, I'm going to go over the Kageros like I mentioned. So let me confirm my list here. So of course we start with Conroe, because Conroe Counterblast, retire this unit to add a grade 1 or less from your deck to hand. You're adding your PGs usually, or you're going to add Armo to your hand, just so that you can start filtering. Surprisingly, I never really used it to get Dote skill off. I wasn't planning this deck to get Dote skill off. My goal of this deck was, if I'm starting to see this wall after I push my opponent to 5 or 4, I didn't want to sit on Dote. I only wanted to sit on Dote only if I knew I could restand naturally without having to dig for him. So if I had 2 copies in, I would gladly sit on Dope. But if I really didn't want to, because the cross ride, it just helps to be a 13k, but when this unit attacks Counterblast 2, Persona Blast to stand and draw 2 cards helps immensely. But in my opinion, this was the MVP of this deck in the thinking. Seal Dragon Blockade. Most people underestimate how powerful Blockade is, and I play him at 4 for good reason. So again, all your opponent's units lose intercept. Now you play this down when your opponent's at 5. Doesn't matter if they have 2 PGs in hand, you literally just got around their walls, because as long as you have the back row units to boost and you can hit the magic 13k or 12k, boom, you're in. Boom, you're in. Boom, you're in. 3 damage coming at your opponent, even against MLB, doesn't stand much of a chance, because they're literally scrambling, because if they didn't grab enough PGs at the time, and the only decks that really grab PGs like a Fiend is the Kagero deck. But knowing that Blockade is this resilient, that's the reason why I play him. I play 1 Blazing Flare Dragon just in case my blockades were damage checked. I wanted a way that if I rode enough, that if I rode this unit here, Blazing Flare could remove that grade 2 that I needed out of my way. Because again, I was thinking more on the retirement aspect, just to get through problems. Then I run Dragonic Overlord at my heal trigger. I just feel better knowing that if my heals are coming to my hand, it's Dragonic Overlord. If it's anything else, I might be upset. But again, there's been times where Dragonic Overlord being in my hand at 3, even after I shuffled everything back, just knowing I have him, just be able to swing out, just helps immensely. Just because he can hit 16, he's hitting magic numbers on his own. So I play 4 striking with the restraint skill, but when rode upon, your Vanguard gets plus 5k in a crit. I kid you not, just sitting on this and going into Dragonic Overlord or Dote himself, being able to swing twice with a crit was my plan on that, but it also helps to hit 15k with Blockade. So you slam down Blockade, he's 15 with 2 crit. Look, your rear guard's hit. Hey, look, boom. Your column goes in, no questions asked. Your opponent's like, wow, I just went from 3 damage proccing a PG. So they sit at 3 damage. Well, that just happened to them. Bellicosity Dragon is when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, countercharge 1, which isn't bad, not at all. So we also have Tejas, because if you see a Wingle, you want your Tejas. So, well, anything that gets rid of a starter just helps. And being able to take out a starter is great. Or even just a grade 1. So, then I run 2 Berserk Dragons, because when plays Counterblast 2, sometimes that retire, you just need it. And that's what my thought process was here. This deck was meant to counter normal Dote, MLB, and Shadows. Because if you could get rid of their power lines, they can't keep up with the cross ride numbers naturally and everything like that, and bringing down their aspects just help. So with Heat Nail, being able to remove a grade 1 to put back this card back in. I know we lose a booster, but sometimes just popping the Royals grade 1 that filters that we have, like everybody has, just helps immensely. Just because they're no longer filtering, they're losing advantage, it just makes them regret playing it. So then you have Gojo, because Gojo shuffles the fixed hand, and I would use him to do that. I'm not really digging for Dote, but if I get Dote, I get Dote. So Dote helped me in a lot of good matchups, because again, not a lot of people had it. Sorry about that. Again, Dote helped in a lot of my matchups, and if I could remember correctly, the first matchup I used it, okay, sorry about that, losing thought process. So with this, my matchups that I faced was, first one was against Red. Red was a great matchup. I ended up playing Dote against his MLB first round, and you could see that he struggled, and I went into Blockade and wiped him out just because he struggled there. And then my lovely Neos took on the rest of his decks. I lost in that one. With his Royals, MLB came in, demolished my Neos. But when Neos faced his OTT deck, he decked out. It was fun. Next, I faced, who was it? W Slasher. Slasher was our live stream match, and my decks do not like being the front and center, apparently. So they literally started bricking, but the games were good. I mean, I closed out MLB again with this deck immediately. This deck does not worry about MLB in the slightest. So remember, Kagero just does not care about MLB in any way, shape, or form. And this deck proves it because Blockade... Because the problem with Royals that I've always seemed to face is that the fact that they just be able to keep their grade 2s and then you have to remove them. Like, I don't like that idealism. So taking care of that was a big thing. Next, well, I lost to Slasher because the final round was his Risers versus my Neos, and I made a few misplays in that game, in the game 3. But, you know, it happens, it happens. Well, let's go over my Neos deck real quick. Well, before we go into it, we're going to confirm deck. I'm going to keep mentioning matchups after this. I'll do a few more. So, Neos was what everyone's here for. So, my Neo boys. P Knight was our main starter. Put this unit into Soul. 2 cards from your drop zone on the bottom of your deck. Put your heal triggers. Put your grade 2 back. Whatever you need for that game, let's go. I play 1 Laurel because Laurel can hit MLB. And I'm regretting not playing her at more because I thought actually this Behemoth was actually really good. But then I realized that the on-hit of Vanguard to restand really helped. But at the same time, it struggles because you still had to hit the ban. But my idea thinking with this card was the Counterblast 2 to restand. Maybe if I put him down, he takes a rear guard out. Then I swing with the ban, hitting him, put any drive checks on Gene, restand this man, swing. Now I have 2 interceptors on board. It helps immensely and helps greatly in my thought process. But I realized that you don't want him on your Vanguard, sadly. You might want him at 1, but I ended up bumping her to 2. I mean, a playset in my new testings. Then I run 4 main trading roles, your main ride target you want to be on, because Counterblast, Persona Blast to look at the top 5 to call to, bringing a new column in, or just placing 2 grade 2s in the lines just to take out of things is great. I run 1 Iris Knight because a 10k, sometimes great to see. I run Immune because it's basically the Risers grade 2. 7k call top. Just being able to play the grade 1 you might need or anything like that. Now you got the column numbers you needed. Then you have the Counterblast 2, draw a card, which is fantastic. Then Gene's grade 2, when this unit attacks hits Vanguard, you can call the Gene grade 3. So you would just call that. Swing, well, they come in rested, which I wish they didn't. That would fix so much issues with this deck if they came in a little more aggro, because again they're Pacific. So I mean, hey, it's not that bad. Then we have Coral Dragon because 8k, then 1 Filterer because I figured 1 would be enough just to be able to filter through. Then we have Blade Squire. Blade Squire really helps because most decks want to sit on a 7k or less. So you pretty much set up your column with, let's say you ride the 8k. You're hitting 8 plus 5 equaling 12? No, 13. So most decks, if they don't hit the trigger, you can, if you have this and this in your hand, Gene will grab you the grade 2, you place it in rest, you have it set up, move it forwards the next turn. Or if you want to just be protective when your opponent's going to the grade 2 turn, just play it down. Play it right in front row. I have the PG at 2 SPs, because PGs are lifeblood. So this is the deck for Neos, and it started helping out a lot when it started coming down to it, because like I said before, a deck that is resilient in defensive lines helps. I was thinking more on getting interceptors on the board or fixing column numbers and stuff like that. That's why I played it like I did. And let's see. Our game 2, game 3 was against Juan Mango. I literally only played 2 games with him. I love Juan Mango, and I feel bad. The game 2 ended up coming down to double checking heals. It was literally, I was going to die. I had 1 PG left in hand and 6 cards left in deck, I think. And those 6 cards were godsend, because after I did my drive trigger checks, there was 2 heals left in deck. First damage, heal trigger, power. Second damage, heal trigger, power. We go into game. End of game 2, and he's already down back against the wall. I swing in, clear him out. That's that game. Then round 4 was against Ryan Kai. Knowing how well this deck could handle shadows from my testing, I decided to lead with Neos first. Ended up being facing Blouse down as his first ride. So I take it out with Neos pretty quickly. Very resilient. Our checks go off. We're actually hand in hand. He goes down way too much in hand size to keep the momentum going, while my hand side was just staying equal. So again, I think draws are the best for this deck because I want to stay in like the 6 card range. If I are not staying in the 6 card range, it ain't worth your time. So then my next match was against Johan. I feel bad when we got in top 8 because I was like, I'm gonna face Johan first, and then boom, Johan was my first opponent. I was like, oh man, I know his decks. I know him way too well. I practiced with Johan during the first Clash of Kings. I know the Kagero matchup. He's about to lay and throw down the law. So game 1, I go in with, I think, my Kageros. Yeah, it was my Kagero versus his. And I get Dote off once, I think. And then I was like, he damage checks me at 5, hits the draw trigger. It brings blockade to my hand. And I'm like, my one and only answer to end him, because he was at 11k. He was at 5 damage. And he had 2 rear guards. We took a very slow approach against each other because I was retiring pieces, because he saw heat nails and stuff like that, so he wasn't comfortable enough to committing full board. So I swung in, took out everything like that, and that took me for game. So I beat him there, and then I play my Neos. I think he beats my Neos with Novas. Kagero. And then we go to game 3, I think. If not, I could be completely wrong. But I know I played Neos against his Novas, and I stopped him dead in his tracks there. It was a lot of commitment to board, taking out everything. I was just keeping constant pressure. I had enough PGs in hand to stop him. But then here comes where I was on live stream more, and I was live streaming, but I was on Vision's thing. My deck's just rematch with Ryan Kai. Ryan Kai just river stomps my decks. Well, I only played Neos because I was confident enough my Neos could handle shadows, but again, he leads with Blouse. This time Blouse just goes off. I should have switched in game 2 to my Kageros so that I would at least bring it to game 3, and then hopefully my Neos could have pushed it, just so I could have read the field of his shadows, because I never actually saw his shadows. There was both Blouse during the first game match in round 4, so that was tough. So and then my top 4 to top 3 chance. I win game 1 with Kagero. I swapped Neos. He's playing MLB. MLB beats my Neos. sadly. Then he goes into risers. I'm still on neos, and I screwed up my plays, to be honest with you. I got distracted for a second, and all of a sudden I skipped a ride phase, and that cost me the game. So that's my report on this, guys. If you guys like this kind of stuff, hopefully you stop by for my Twitch stream Saturday. I'll be facing again in Living Proofs tournament, so that's going to be a massive one. I'm going to enjoy that. I'm bringing Neos and Kagero again because I have a feeling I can handle it this time. I will have an updated modified Neo list, and hopefully we can get there on Proofs tournament. So follow me on Twitch and follow me on my Instagram, my Twitter. They're all down in the description below. And if you guys haven't, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.